Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Uh, my name is Saurabh Banerjee. I have uh, over 18 years of experience in SAP Analytics product, and this channel I have created specifically to help those who are new to the cloud-based products, and I intend to upload a new video every week. So please like and subscribe my channel, and please don't miss any video. Most of my videos will have content in terms of presentation plus demo in the system. I'll start with a small presentation. So today's topic is advanced formula in SAP Analytics Cloud Planning, and this uh, presentation I'll cover a few basic things of SSC planning, and then I will provide a few details on the advanced formula, and then of course we will move towards the demo. So let's start with what is SSC planning. Um, Currently SSC comes with three different licenses. One is for the analytics purpose, the two other are for planning purposes, one for typically for the end user, and one is the planning professional license, which is for the developers who would actually do the modeling in the system. Um, Previously, SAP had different products for financial and other planning. Um, Integrated planning was used extensively, followed by BPC. Now with SSC planning, it combines all the capability of a planning need, as well as it has a very beautiful presentation and capability in terms of dashboards. And then of course there are some advanced capabilities that are also there along with the planning related objects. So we can perform collaboration of the planners, super users, and finance controllers in a systematic and governed way. There are advanced action that you can perform to manipulate data, and then you can line up multiple actions together to run a series of action in a automated fashion. It also comes with its own predictive capability, also known as smart predict, where we can do regression, classification model, and time series. And it also has a very robust alert mechanism as well to track the overall workflow. From an integration perspective, it will have the integration with DataSphere and all other SAP products. If you're using the DataSphere as your data platform, then you can use seamless planning, which is of course not covered in this video, but I will try to upload a different video on this purpose. So these are some of the basic things for SSA planning. Let's move on to the next slide. So this is the advanced formula in SSA planning. So if you see in the left hand side, we have got overall flow diagram of how it works. So if you start reading from the left side, you'll have the actual data set, and then just give me a second. Let me open the pointer. So you have the actual data here, which is typically coming from your ERP system, maybe S4 system or ECC, which goes and sits on the planning model, and all the planning model are version enabled. So you'll get the data in the actual version. If it is a public version, then you'll get by default as a public dot actual as the version. Then you have the budget data. So the budget data is typically copied from the actual data to start with, and then it goes to the planning model and creates another version for the budget data. Now the planners will see this data and then modify based on their need, and then publish the result into the planning model. Now where advanced formula comes into picture is there is something called a data action in SSC planning, which executes several database operations. And advanced formula are the cases where the built-in features for the data actions are not suitable, to cater to the complex requirement that you may have. So it will read the budget data from the planning model or any other version's data, and then it will perform the calculation and write it back to the budget data, publish it to the planning model. So your planning model will have all this data, but this is something which has to be executed either manually or using a script. This is not something which is part of the user entry, for example. Now, on top of the planning model, there is a SSC story. The story can be created on the planning model, which gets the data at runtime, and then you can prepare dashboard. You can combine with other models if you want. And this is the overall structure. Now, at the right hand side, what you can see are the some of the syntaxes that are widely used inside the advanced formula. Of course, there are many other, but these are the main ones which we are going to use today. So member set is when you want to include or exclude a member for your advanced formula. So it is typically kind of a filter that you're applying on the overall data set. Aggregate dimension is to aggregate the data coming from different dimensions, and then you can apply the aggregation rules on it. A model and link, these are two syntaxes which are used to get data from the other models. So each data action has to be associated with a default planning model. For example, if you're working on this planning model and let's say the driver or the calculations are stored in a different planning model, then you can use these syntaxes to get data at a runtime inside the advanced formula to perform certain calculations. Then you have a variable member, which is nothing but you know um, a variable which exists only inside the advanced formula to store the intermediate results. Data is something which is used to write values to the output, which means writing value to the planning model. So after all your calculations are over, then you can use the data function to push the data back to the planning model, and then user will publish and the data will be saved within the model. Delete is for the same purpose. The only thing is it is only meant to delete data from your planning model. Result lookup is something which is used to get a certain part of your data set based on your filter criteria. It is often used inside the advanced formula to get a selective data set for some intermediate calculations. Now, attribute is something which can get you the property of a dimension. So we need to understand a dimension table very carefully. When you create a model, you'll create a field, and each field will have to have a dimension associated with it. So the dimension table, we can create a property. So when you say property, it is nothing but it is analogous to an attribute of a master data in SAP Business Warehouse. So it is in a similar nature. So you can get the value of that. For each, this syntax is useful to perform data over a loop, and the calculation has to run on every row of the data. Okay, I'll move to the next slide. So in this demo, what we are going to cover generally. So we will start with the upload of a data. So for the data upload, we have I've created an Excel for the general ledger summary level data, and that data set goes and sits in a model and create the actual version of the data. Right? There is a small typo. It is that I have used a financial year 2024 for the initial upload. And then the next step would be to create a copy of that data and assign the version as budget for the financial year 2025. Now your model now contains both the version. Now we will be performing a small manual change on the budget data just to make it a little bit different than the actual data set. This step is not mandatory, but we will just perform this step just to show that how to make changes to the budget data, right? Um, and once that is done, then the last step would be to create the advanced formula. So before creating the advanced formula, we need to have the calculation stored in another planning model. That also I have a different Excel where the calculations are there, and I have uploaded that into the planning model. And the advanced formula will, take the input of the budget data from my first planning model, and then it will look up those jail account in the second planning model to find out what percentage share of the data should be applied to royalty. And then it will calculate the overall royalty and add to the hierarchy. I have also created a hierarchy. So creating the hierarchy or creating the planning model, uploading data, these are not something which I'm covering in this video. But I'll try to upload a separate video on how to set up those data, because these are very basic things and I don't want to spend time in this video on those things. Now, what do you need in case you want to execute these steps along with me or by seeing this video? What you need to have is, first is you need to have either SSC trial license or SSC system access. I will be showing this demo in a trial license. Next, you need the file with the actual data. So the setup file that you need. Okay. The third is your user must have access to the planning specific object. So when you have one SSC system, it is not necessary that you need to have the access to the planning model, as it comes with a different license. So make sure that you have that access if you're using your own system. Otherwise, if you're using the trial license, then it will come with it all the planning capability by default. As a prerequisite, you need to complete this learning video, that means this presentation, to understand how it works and what is that we're going to show. So do not skip it, just see end to end. And you need to have the very basic knowledge of financial planning. That does not need to be part of SSC, but financial planning as a whole. If you do not have any knowledge on financial planning, then I urge you that go and search in the internet, find out details about that, learn a little bit, and then come back and see this video. It will be very useful for you. Okay, so let's move to the demo now. Okay, so as you can see, I've already opened the SSC trial page. So let me show you what are the things that are already created. Okay, so if you go into the modeler, okay, there what I have is, let it open. Okay, what I have is the GL model planning. So this is the model which I've created by uploading a setup data. And how the data will look like, I will show you. And as I've told you earlier, that any model that you create by uploading the data, the version field will be assigned as actual. Okay, so here also this is not an exception. If you see here, you have what are the dimensions that you have: the version, GL account, date, calendar month, chart of account, company code, profit center, and you have amount in local currency as the measure. Now, if you see the bottom, what you can see is the sample data set. Now, you see GL account, date, and everything is there. The date here, the date field is particularly important because I have assigned year to date, but this is not, the date doesn't have to store a date always. You can always choose to store in year or a quarter or a month or even a date. So in this example, I have used year, and this is one of the mandatory field. Now, if you see, the version here is actual. Okay, so I do have a budget version created here, but this is not something which has data right now. If you see, if I select budget, it will not have any data. But if you want to create it yourself, this budget will not appear here. You will have to create the budget version in the version management from SSC Studio. Now, what we are going to do, I will also show you another model which I've created for the calculation. Okay, so this is an analytical model, and this has version, company code, GL account, these three values as dimension and measure as percentage. So how we can read it? If the data contains this GL account and belongs to this company code, then it will have to apply 15% of the amount of the actual data, right, or the budget data on which it is running to the royalty share. So how we can define royalty? So what I've done here is, if I go back to my earlier model, which is GL model planning, if I go to that, then I was talking about a dimension table, right? So I've created a dimension table on GL. How we can go into that? If you see here GL, you select here, there is an option to edit dimension table. Okay, so I'll simply select it first. And now here, what you can see is one hierarchy is created called GL account hierarchy. So this hierarchy I have created myself. It is a parent-child hierarchy. And if you see the data, it has four levels, L1, L2, L3, and royalty. So royalty has one GL account. So whatever share that we are getting from each of the GL account under these nodes based on the calculation has to be added up into the royalty data. That's it. The summation has to be shown against this GL account. Okay. Now, how to achieve this? So in order to first, um, first what we need to do is, the first step is to copy the actual data into budget data. So we are going to create one data action. If you see here, click on data action and click here to create. Now you need to give a name. So I'll just give actual to budget. A description is not mandatory. And you need to select a default model on which it will run. So my default model is GL model planning. Now this is done. Let's save this first. And I've created a folder to organize this. So under GL model, I have the actual to budget. Okay. So now the data action is saved. Now let's go to parameters. See, the target version is something which will come automatically. So you cannot create another variable or another parameter on version. It is system defined. Now let's create a parameter on the year from which you are going to copy it. Okay. So let's call it as year from, and let's select the measure of dimension as date. Okay, that's it. Nothing else is required. So this parameter is created. Now let's create another parameter as year 2. Okay, that's it. So three parameters are there now. Now let's add a copy step. So let's call it as copy actual. Okay, now in the filter section, okay, currently it is filtered by the variable. Let's change it to actual. So this is the filter which defines which data we are copying. So we are copying actual data. Let's add another filter on date. and let's select year from. Okay, now you need to do a copy rule. So which data needs to be copied? So the data for this filter, whatever is there, will be copied. But then, are we making any change while we are copying the data? Yes, we are making a change, right? We want to change the year. The actual data will be 2024, but we want to create the budget data for 2025. So we need to select here date. The from date will be, select your parameters. So this parameter is always there. Let's select all. There's nothing wrong in selecting because version actual, and anyway we are filtering on that date. Let's select the two and select parameters. Select year 2. Okay, that means all the data based on this filter criteria will be copied to the year 2 parameter. Okay, that's it. We are to overwrite the data. Now let's save this. So your first data action is ready. Now let's create the second data action. Okay, let's go back. Now we will be creating the data action for your advanced formula. So let's call it as royalty, or maybe royalty share, and the default is the same. Let's save this first. Okay, so data action saved. So I've created two data action. One is royalty share and one is actual to budget. These two. Okay. Now we need to create the step in the royalty share. How we can create it? Let's add advanced formula. Let's call it as calculate royalty. Now we have two type of display. One is visual, one is script. In the context, let's add filter. So when you add filter, that means the data will be filtered before it arrives to the script. So what are the filters that we want to give? Okay, so it should run for the budget data first of all, right? But we cannot give that here because budget is already there as a parameter. If you see, target person budget is there. Okay, now let's move to office stuff is not required. So we want to give the filter on date. Okay, so it should run for only 2025. Okay, so how we can do it? Just go to parameters. Let's create a parameter on year. Let's select date here. Okay, all right. Now, so we have got a target version. We have got year. And let's go to calculate royalty. Let's see, we need to give the filter on date. So let's select parameter as year. This is the filter that we are going to give. Okay, this should be fine. Now let's go to, the, okay, so here is not allowed, but we will see. Okay, so inside the script, okay, let's do one thing first. Let's go to visual, and then, you know, in the context, let's select company code as 6001 and 6002. Okay, now let's go to script. As you can see, it has converted the script. Now what you need to have now, first of all, you need to link the model. Okay, the other model which gives you the calculation. How you do it? You just say model, and then you press control and uh, uh, space button together, and it will open up all the models for you. So the model that we want to have is the royalty share. You see, royalty share is added as a model. Now, what you need to do is for each of the GL account, you need to calculate royalty. Now, how we do it? You write for each, then press same thing, control and space, GL account. Okay, so it will start the loop for you. So how you can calculate royalty? First of all, you need to define the target. So what is your target? Your target is your royalty GL account. So how you define your target? You need to give a statement called data, and inside that you need to provide the um, definition of what is going to be, um, what which field are going to change. Okay, so you give measures equal to amount in local currency. Yeah? And you need to give a GL account, okay, as you can see the hierarchy has opened. So you need to select royalty. Okay, this part, up to this part it is fine. It is the target structure that we're writing. Now equal to, so in one hand you need to have the percentage coming from other model. The other hand you need to multiply that with the um, um, value of the amount for that particular jail. So how to get that? You need to give result lookup. Okay, so measures equal to amount in local currency. Yeah, then what are the filters you need to give? Okay, so for each jail account, it is anyway running for each jail account. Now you need to give the version as budget. Yeah, or you can use the target version. That's also fine. Okay, so version is target version, and this is amount. Let me see if there is other filter is required. Okay, so date has to be for our case 2025. Okay, now this is fine with the parameter for year, but let me go here. This is that parameter is visible here. The parameter is not visible. So we need to make some adjustment in the hierarchy, which we will not do in this demo. So 2025 is what I need. And anything else? No, I think this is all. So this will give me the amount, and then it has to be multiplied by the percentage from the other planning models. So how to get that percentage? You need to use the syntax link, where you need to first give the model name, which is royalty share. Now you need to pass a selection. You need to pass selection for GL account and company code. How to do that? There are two models, right? One is your default model for which the loop is running, and the second model is royalty share. So if you simply press Control and space, it will give you the list of dimension from your linked model. So measures equal to percentage, okay, and then you need to select the so you need to select the GL account. This is the GL account from the linked model, and you need to provide the GL account from your other model. So how to do that? Do not press Control and space. Just start the third bracket, and all these dimensions from your default model will come. Okay, you see the GL account naming conventions are different. So that's one. Then you have to have the company code restriction. Your company code would be the company code from your original, that is the default model. So we start the third bracket, and here you will see the company code. And what else that you need to provide? You need to provide the version. So the version is actual, because that is not a planning model, that is an analytical model. Okay, so this multiplied by this, and then it has to be divided by 100. Now if you do this data, for every single loop element, it will go and overwrite, which will not give you the summation. So instead of data, you need to give data dot append. Okay, now this has now created my data entry. Now where the data has to be written is, we need to give data equals to result lookup of measures as your amount in local currency, and version as, let's select the parameter target version, and what you need to do is date as 2025. Yeah, so now your code is ready. If you see from top to bottom, how is it happens is, you have called the royalties here as a linked model. You have looped on each GL account for your default model. Then you append the data for this particular GL account, that is royalty, which is looking up the data for the same GL account for 2025 and for the target version, which we will, while running, we will add as budget. And then you have to find the percentage from the linked model using the GL company code and version filter. Then you need to divide that by 100, because that's the percentage. Then finally, whatever data you have appended, you have to look up the data for a final outcome. You have to look up the data, and you have to assign that to the budget version. Okay. Now let's go to the visual. Let's see how it looks like there. So if you see now, the visual shows you how it works. Okay, there looks to be okay. There is a small error here. So the version has to be hard coded. It cannot be used as a parameter because of the restriction. And here also same thing. I think the version has to be hard coded to budget. Okay, now let's go here. Let's see if there is still some error. So there are no error right now. So let's expand it and see how it works. So it says the target amount in local currency for this jail account, and it appends the data coming from the source planning model for budget 2025 multiplied by the percentage value for that same jail account divided by 100. And after this loop is completed, if you see it says repeat for jail account. After it is completed, then the target will get this data from source, which is amount in local currency budget in 2025 and assigned to the target. So that's the end of it. Okay. Now let's save this. Okay. Now both of our data actions are ready. So I have already created a story. You can create your own story, but just to save time, I've already created a story here, which is called jail account planning demo. And let the story open. Okay, so it contains the data from the planning model. Currently, it is getting data only for actual because that's what the planning model contains. It has two company codes, and each company code has their own local currency. I've got the hierarchy enabled here. So L1, L2, and L3, under that you'll see all the GL accounts, and this is the aggregated value of that. Now let's go to edit mode first. Let's add those two data actions here. Okay, so how to add the data action? You need to click here, the plus sign, the starter, the data action starter. So the data action starter, now you need to configure that. How to configure it? You have to give a level. So um, I'll just say create budget for this one. In the data action, now you need to select which data action that you need. So we have created um, create budget and calculate royalty. These two data action I think we have created. So let's select create budget, and nothing else is required here. And let's add another one. So this video I'm not going in details on all these different things. Um, I'll try to cover that in separate video. So here I have calculate royalty, and in the data action I'll select calculate royalty as my data action. So now this is fine. And let's save the story first. So the story is saved. Now let's go to the view mode. So it will generally take a little bit time to open in the view mode. And Um, Once it opens, then we'll try to run those data action one by one. It's loading the story now. So we see both my data actions came here, and I can see the uh, uh, GL model planning window also. Now let's create the budget. If I run the data action, what will happen? It will first ask for the target version. Let's select the target version as budget. Let it open. So let's select budget as my target version and then press run. So it is normally recommended to run this in background, but foreground is okay because the data volume is less. So data action finished running on version budget. Now give me a second. Uh, Let me refresh the page. For some reason, the budget data I cannot see. Let me investigate first. If my data action have got some wrong, uh, so it is create budget. Let's open the data action. I'm not going to publish the record. Let me see if there is some minor mistake somewhere. So create budget. Um, did I not add the okay? So copy action was missing actually. Okay, somehow it got deleted. I'll just create it quickly. So the actual to budget. So the filter version would be actual, and I'll have to have another filter on the date. I'll select parameter as probably this is a wrong one that I've selected. Probably my bad. I think the correct one which has created. Let me cross check. Probably I've selected a different one. Okay, so create budget data. That's not something which I've created today. Okay, so actual to budget is the name. Okay, sorry. Actual to budget is the name. There's a wrong assignment that I've done. So if I go to edit mode, and I'll have to discard whatever I have created before. So let's revert the data first. Okay, so from here you can revert the data. Okay, now in the create budget, select the right side panel, and here the one that we need to select, no, let's select it from that screen. Okay, so GL model, inside which we need to select actual to budget. Okay, now this is fine. Let's see, calculate royalty is also fine. Let's save this first, and let's open it in view mode again. Just loading the story now. Okay, now let's create the budget. So it will again ask for the version, year from and year to. So the version I'm going to select as budget. This is the target version. Okay, so budget. Now year from I'm going to select 2024. Okay, and year two I'm going to select 2025. Okay, press run. Now it is running. Give it a while. So after it runs, the table will be refreshed automatically, and you'll be able to see the actual data set. Now the action is finished. Now, as soon as the action is finished, you'll see that the budget has started appearing, the budget for 2025, and the color is different, just to signify that this is something which is not yet published. Now this data, if you see, it is the exact replica of the actual data set. Okay, and the star mark says that it is not yet published. So you click on publish data. So now you have successfully published the data change. Now that the star mark and the coloring is gone, and you can see that the budget and actual both are coming. So we have executed the copy function successfully. Now we will be calculating the royalty. So before that, let's make some changes in one of the GL account so that the value of the budget will differ from the actual value. Okay, let's add 1000 here. Okay, so you can just say plus 1000, press enter, and then you can see the value has changed. Another 1000 has increased, and it has successfully rolled up to the upper level as well. So you publish the data first. Okay, and then you collapse the hierarchy. Okay, now let's calculate royalty. When you calculate royalty, it will again ask for the target version. Let's select the version as budget. Let's run. So now our advanced formula is running. That means that for all of this jail account, it gets the data, and then it goes to the link model, pulls up the percentage, multiplies that, and then the data is assigned to the royalty jail account. And then it, because it is appending, it is added up to the royalty data finally. If you see, now the royalty is appearing for the budget data. These are the two values, and it is assigned to the royalty GL account here successfully. Yeah, now you can publish the data. So we have successfully executed the uh, advanced formula for looking up and then performance and calculation to find out the royalty data added to the model. That will conclude my demo. If you have liked this, then as I said earlier, in the beginning of the video, that please like and subscribe to my channel. I will be uploading a new informative video every week. So keep and watch, and later on, I also open a collaborative forum where you can post your topic regarding analytics, and I'll try to prepare some content on that, and I'll try to create the video on that. So until then, have a good day. Thank you for watching, and please spread the news to the community on this channel, and keep watching. Thank you.